Good morning, everybody. I am here at the crack of dawn with Juan Arzola, who is our brand new Academic Senate president. So, Juan, are you ready?
I am ready, and good morning, everybody.
All right. What's your favorite food truck?
To be honest with you, I don't eat at food trucks. Let me take that back. I do eat at food trucks, but I don't have a favorite one. I do have a favorite restaurant that I will go to. They do have a food truck, but I've never eaten at it. So I'm going to assume if their food on the food truck is the same as the food in the restaurant, then it would probably be my favorite food truck. But 559 Tacos in Fresno, they do some real good carne asada, quesadilla tacos, red tacos, Tijuana style. They have it all, mariscos, todo. I mean, they have everything. So I like their food, and again, they have a truck that does come down to Visalia every once in a while. So if you want to take a look at it, go get on social media and connect with 559 Tacos.
All right. What's the main reason you chose teaching?
Main reason, be honest with you, as I began contemplating, post undergraduate, I had my sights set on law school. But then I started seeing how law school sort of, pigeonholed individuals into just practicing law. And I wanted to have more options. So I thought, with an advanced degree in political science or some discipline or subdiscipline related to political science, that it would at least give me an option to teach. I looked at, if I went with teaching, I knew I wanted to teach at community college. This was my lifesaver. It provided me with the back door into higher education. I didn't graduate from high school. I actually got kicked out of Tulare County when I was 17 years old. I was expelled from the county. I couldn't finish high school in Tulare County. And of course, being from a poor family, didn't have the resources to continue my high school education in any of the surrounding counties. So I had to wait until I was mature enough and to attend community college. And I felt like, given the steps that I had to take to get into higher education, knowing that there, particularly in this area, are a lot of youngsters like me who have challenging lived experiences, I certainly wanted to be in a position at this community college in this community to hopefully have some sort of positive impact on their lives, and give them some hope that if somebody from Goshen, who was a gang member, an ex-gang member, who didn't make it through high school, who spent a lot of time in the juvenile justice system, could possibly make it through higher education, maybe, just maybe, I can inspire others to do the same. So that's why I chose teaching. I wanted to be a role model and empower my community through my presence in the classroom.
What courses do you teach?
Right. So my faculty service area is political science. For those of you who are probably aware, the major course in political science that every student usually takes and has to take, particularly if you're planning on transferring to the university, is our Political Science 5. This is federal, state, and local government. But my colleague, Amy Vega Pritchett, and I, a few years ago, began to expand our course offerings. And so about 5 years ago, we created international relations, introduction to international relations, which I teach because that's my specific specialty, my subtopic of discipline, subtopic of the political science discipline that I specialize in, international relations. And then 2 years ago, we created the Introduction to Political Philosophy and Theory, which I also teach. So there's 3 courses that I teach in political science: federal, state, and local government, international relations, and political philosophy and theory.
What's your proudest non-teaching accomplishment?
I am going to, I mean, there's so many. To be honest with you, there are so many. I mean, first off, the fact that I was able to reach the age that I was, the things that I did when I was, in temperate youth, I didn't foresee myself living past 18. So getting to 18 was great. Turning my life around is a very proud non-teaching moment, and that process began with me enlisting and proudly serving this country in the United States Marine Corps. The birth of my daughter and her success, and the collaboration that my wife and I had in her upbringing is a proud achievement, not only as a father, but as a parent. And of course, as a husband, being able to hold on to my wife for the nearly 30 years of marriage that we have been together those things. Graduating from UCLA, there's no way I could have thought about that. Getting a master, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think, for those of us who have come from a challenging background, it seems very hard to be able to select just one thing, because everything is sort of a hurdle, and everything seems to be a great accomplishment when you come from the dirt, right below the dirt in some instances, and risen to the heights and that at least I personally find myself. So not one but many. Sorry.
Fantastic. That's okay. What's your watch it 1,000 times movie?
Oh my God. This one I have several. I'm Shumani Tatanka Wachielo, which translates into Dances with Wolves. I really like that movie. The Godfather is another of my, doesn't matter where it is, I gotta rewind it and watch it from the beginning. Blood In, Blood Out. JFK. There's so many movies that I just have to. If once it's on or I get the itch, I got to turn it on. I got to watch it. Get it out of my system.
What's your late work policy?
I like the previous or the past interviewee, Coach Burkett. I too have undergone a sort of a transformation, or at least reevaluation of my late policy. Prior to the pandemic, it used to be, hey, no leeway, right? Assignments, you're given a week to do assignments, you don't get it done, then it's an automatic 50% off of any work that's turned in late to me, and you'll get an additional 48 hours to turn it in. After 48 hours, that's it. I don't accept anything from you. And during that last spring, not spring 2021, but spring 2020, when we were forced to go online, and I just realized that it was such a challenge for our students. I had to reassess my late policy. And even though I have language in my syllabus that still lays down the marker, hey, you're given 48 hours after the due date to turn in late work. That's really a fluid deadline. I will work with any student, just as long as there's lines of communication. So I'm going to say moving target, even though I have language in my syllabus that sort of lays down a definitive marker on how I treat late work.
Mm-hmm. And your absence policy?
Absence policy kind of has remained the same. I certainly tried to impress upon students, communication is key. You communicate with me, absence won't be affected, but if you're unable to communicate with me, and you certainly don't communicate with me after I've informed you of you being marked absent, then the absence will remain intact. In other words, I'm kind of flexible in how I implement my policy. So, but the statement in my syllabus is basically this, particularly in the online environment, because I'm teaching online 100%. I'll let students know that your attendance is mandatory in your group discussion. Group discussion boards are held every week. You fail to participate and post an initial comment for your group by the due date and time, then you're going to be considered absent. To reinforce that, I've used a carrot and stick policy that adjoins that absence, which is basically to say that everybody starts off with my class with full attendance points, yours to hold on to. All you have to do is just participate in your group's discussion, you hold on to them. Every time you're not participating, then I'll subtract points from you, from your participation points. So, and usually it takes about 4 or 5 absences before I decide to reach out to the student and say, hey, you need to communicate with me. If I don't hear from you by this time, which is usually about a 72-hour window, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that you're no longer interested in the class, and I'll usually take the steps to drop them.
What's one piece of advice for your students?
Control what you can control. I think that's the hard lesson that I learned after I got my head on right about education. Control what you can control. And just to give you, it brings some depth to that response. So when I was a student here at COS, and I'm not popping my collar with this statement, but it never failed that whenever I was in a class, I always felt that I was one of the top students in the class, whether it was by intelligence or grading, however the marker was. I always felt like I was at the top of the class. Then when I transferred to UCLA, that feeling quickly dissipated as I began to recognize there were some really sharp students, and I was no longer the big fish in the small pond. It was a big pond, and there were many big fishes. So I realized, like, after my first couple of summer classes, that I couldn't just rest on the laurels of being intelligent or being smart. That really what was going to get me over the top is what I could control. And what I could control was I wasn't going to allow anybody to outwork me. That's what I could control. So I did my best to sacrifice horizontal time in my bed and time with my wife and my daughter at the time. I made that sacrifice because I wasn't going to allow anybody to outwork me. And that's what I try to convey to students, is that control what you can control. And what you can control is, how much effort you put in your class, given the time that you're permitted. everybody has different responsibilities and duties. Everybody's life is different, right? So control what you can control. Take advantage of the time that you have and work, work, work. Don't, don't sit back after the semester and say, if I would have, I shouldn't have did this and I shouldn't have done that. Instead, put more time in my studies. Don't be that person with the regret that you sit back and say, well, I got a C, but I know I could have got an A if I would have just, put more time and sacrificed time here, invested over here. But that was me. That's what worked for me. But control what you can control is what my biggest, piece of advice to my students are.
You have any pets?
Me personally, my wife and I do not have any pets. However, our daughter, our adult daughter lives with us, and she has 4 pets. So,
so you do have pets.
Right. So we have furry grandbabies, and we have a pit bull who is the youngest. He's about 75 pounds, big boy, but our small Chihuahua mix dogs have him in check. So, 3 dogs.
What's your favorite recent teaching moment?
It is a moment that continues to play out seemingly every year when I will get emails out of the blue from students that have went on to be successful in their, educational and professional goals. And every once in a while, I'll get an email or I'll get a message on a social media platform, and they, will give me, props. They'll let me know, hey, Arzola, I didn't realize it at the time, the things that you do in your class and how, it was a challenge then, but I can tell you without a doubt, those lessons that you helped instill allowed me to be successful, not just whether it was in my continued educational journey or, my professional journey. There were things that I took away from what you did in the class. And they reassure me that, I should, do what I do and be as authentic and real as possible with students. That's empowering, and is my continual re-energizer. I just got one the other day from a student at Cornell who is applying to be a Rhodes Scholar as they're on their journey for a PhD. And I told him, absolutely, I got you on this reference letter. And we've talked, and same thing. Hey, you're doing good work. Continue doing what you're doing. And so that's empowering to me, and that's probably my continual proud moment.
Long weekend, where do you go?
Home. I love being with my wife. She grounds me. She holds me down. My daughter holds me down. These 2 women, let me know not to get too big for my britches. They keep me humble, and that's important for me to stay humble. Even though I recognize that I'm privileged, I also need to keep that humility about myself, so that way I never lose touch of the challenges that the majority of the students that we serve here at the district, this type of challenges that they're dealing with, I had to overcome. And as long as I have that framing reference that guides me in what I do at the district, it'll allow me to move mountains, so to speak. And so staying humble and in touch with in Spanish, la tierra, right? The ground, the soil, making sure that I never lose touch with the soil.
Do it now or wait until the last minute?
I got to do it now. I've got to do it now because, as you get older, if I don't write it down, I don't put it in my calendar.
Yes.
Se me pasa, right? In Spanish, it's just, I'm going to forget about it. I shudder at the fact that when I miss something, I forgot to write something down, I could just beat myself over, and I do beat myself over. So if I don't take care of it now and I don't put it down somewhere so that way I'm reminded about it, I'll forget. And so I got to do it now. It's really, I got to do it now.
What's another career that you'd pursue?
Ooh, probably lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a lawyer. I am still passionate about the law. I am still passionate, particularly about international law and the nexus with immigration law. Yeah, I would definitely, pursue being a lawyer.
What's your favorite anxiety reliever?
Family, my wife and my daughter. Again, they empower me. They afford me the opportunity to relieve stress that I carry, whether it's from my job or from other relationships that I have. The bending of their ear is constant and nonstop, and the advice, the counsel of a wise woman is unparalleled in this, in my belief. And so to have two strong Latinas grounded who help keep me grounded, they're the best stress and anxiety relief.
What's one inanimate object you'd take to a desert island?
Pictures of my wife and my daughter, and I just, trying to capture a moment of my life where everything is good and everything just makes sense. So I would take a picture, and it'll be a reminder that I got to continue struggling to find a way off this deserted island to get back to them.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
The interaction with the students and my colleagues. Students, the resilience that students exhibit is just, inspiring. It's empowering. But at the same time, it reminds me of the job that still, the heavy lifting that still must be done. Mm-hmm. I want to someday be able to know that students in this community don't have to be resilient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the resiliency that students exhibit today is the result of the challenges and obstacles that they continue to have to navigate.
Yeah.
Right. And I long for the time where our students don't have to exhibit resiliency. And so until then, the resilience that our students exhibit, with all the challenges, particularly over the last year and a half, and that's empowering. Of course, my wife and my daughter, my family, mi corazón, my heart, they keep me pointed in the right direction. They continue to, stoke the fire and be my inspiration to stay true to who I am and the things that I, would like to address using my privilege. And so yeah, students, their resiliency, and the grounding that my wife and my daughter give me.
Is your office decor minimalist or maximalist? Looks pretty minimal.
I'm gonna say I strike a balance.
Yeah.
I have things in my office that reflect, of course, my educational and personal journey. For example, behind me, I have my honorable discharge certificate from the United States Marine Corps, a big plaque back there, United States Marine. Then I have about a third of the books that I have accumulated over my undergraduate studies at UCLA. A couple books from my graduate studies at Fresno State. I have no books from my PhD program. It's decored, but it's not really over the top. So I try to. I think I got a good balance.
I think you touched on this, but I'm going to ask it one more time. The biggest obstacle that you would remove for students if you could?
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's an obstacle that can be removed by one individual. But if there is something that I could ask of my colleagues to do is how can we empower our students to want to pursue education through the curriculum that we provide. And to put it more bluntly, I would love to empower my colleagues to see the benefit of cultural responsive curriculum. Because in my opinion, I think when students don't see their stories reflected in the curriculum, it is quite easy for them to lose interest in education. That would be one the biggest obstacle, empowering my colleagues to see the value in culturally relevant curriculum.
What's the best thing about being a COSTA member?
Well, I will be the first to admit, and I know there are a handful that I've spoken to this about, I have not been very active in COSTA. I can probably count on one hand the number of meetings, COSTA meetings that I've attended. It would be disingenuous of me to say there is something that I hold special about, being a member of COSTA. I can tell you, drawing just on the limited experience I've had in those COSTA meetings, it's enlightening to know that there are different perspectives with respect to workplace matters. I think, those instances in those few meetings that I've attended where those differences were very stark. I think, on one hand, it could certainly be, sort of lend to the sort of the defeatist mentality that one could be saddled with, but on the other hand, it can certainly stoke the fire to continue the good fight. So I tend to be the latter, not the former. So I guess the best thing in the limited experiences, in the limited meetings that I've attended with COSTA, is that it stoked the fire to continue to do what I am driven to do.
Very good answer. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.